craftiness. In the Bible, who can give me a definition of the word craftiness? Or how does the biblical text of the Bible use the word craftiness? Who can give me a definition of how the Bible uses the word craftiness? Okay, the word craftiness. Let's go to Genesis 3:1, and then we'll go to Ephesians, the 4th chapter. Let's go to Genesis 3:1. My computer is a little slow. But Genesis 3:1. Let's turn our attention to Genesis 3:1. Some things that technology can just not replace. Okay, I'm going to ask that everyone will be attended. Let us give attention to the scriptures this morning. Okay. Genesis 3:1 says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which Yahweh had made," which Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, "Yea, had Elohim said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden." One thing that we're dealing with is subtleties. We're dealing with subtleties, and we're dealing with craftiness in this day and age. Who can give me a definition of the word? I want the elders to give us a definition of the word to be subtle.
Sneaky, really.
Sneaky. Sneaky, that's a good one. Who can give me elders, give us a definition of the word, or how the word craftiness is used in the Bible?
That's really like being good at deceiving.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now we know that the serpent appeared to the woman to do what, Dominique? Why did the serpent appear to the woman in Genesis, the 3rd chapter? That's something you should know right off, brother. You should know that. You should know that right off. Simply to deceive.
He fooled her, he tricked her.
That's right. Simply to deceive. Simply to deceive. So he came to her in a what? Subtle way. To deceive. In other words, in an indirect way. And let's go to Exodus, the 2nd, no, 1st chapter. Exodus, the 1st chapter. Now this is during the time of our forefathers in the first Egypt. Notice what I said, the first Egypt. In this particular time, just to give you a brief context, our forefathers was in Egypt under a under a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. Okay? And he saw that there was too many Hebrews in the land, right? So let's find out, what did he say? What did he say? What did he want to do? Because he saw that there was too many Hebrews in his land, and he thought them to be a threat to the sovereignty sovereignty of his kingdom. 6th verse, Exodus, the first chapter. And Joseph died, and all his brethren and all that generation. 7th verse. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. The 8th verse. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. How do I sound on the mic, yo? The 10th verse. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, that they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land. So, Pharaoh wanted to decrease the population of the Israelites, of our forefathers, because he felt that they was a threat to his kingdom. But notice what he said. Come on, let us deal what? Wisely with them. Let us deal, in other words, let us be subtle in how we deal with them. Let us be crafty in how we deal with these people. See, let me tell you something about the wicked. The wickedly wise. Let me write that down. The wickedly wise. Meaning, when somebody conceives of doing something to you, they don't act out of ignorance. They don't act out of stupidity. You understand? They have an orchestrated plan on how to deal with you. You understand that? See, what I hate about our people, Brother Chris, is that our people, according to Hosea 4:6, they are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. Because they're ignorant to self. And when you are ignorant to self, you don't know the signs of the time, and you don't know how to counter the wickedly wise. You understand? You don't know how to counter them because you don't know who you are. But when the wickedly wise acts, they don't act out of ignorance. They act with what?
Premeditated, calculated.
Premeditated, calculated action. Get that sister a hand. And if a lot of our people will learn how to respond and act with a premeditated, calculated, righteous act, then they will be better off in the decisions that they make in their life. You understand? Because the simple-minded person, the naive person, they make what? Foolish decisions. But the wickedly wise, they may be wicked, but they don't act out of ignorance. They may be wicked, but they don't make stupid moves. You understand? Listen to what Pharaoh said. Come and let us deal wisely with them. The serpent went to Eve in a subtle way, in a crafty way. Why do you think the Bible says that Satan appears as a what? Angel of what? Light. They don't come, the enemy don't come stupid. The enemy don't come ignorant. But a lot of our people respond to the wickedly wise out of ignorance. You understand? Now let's go to Ephesians, the 4th chapter, the 14th verse. Ephesians, the 4th chapter, the 14th verse. I'm going to prove to you where I'm trying to go with this. What is one of the most famous quotes from the book called Art of War? My military veterans. Elder, the Art of War says what? Know thy what? Enemy. I've never been in the white man's army, because that's exactly what it is. I've never fought the white man's or the devil's war. You understand? But the Art of War, which is a book that was written, you understand, that military strategists have studied since the time it was written, and it's real popular with militaries all across the world. Know thy enemy. Even YAH'S said in the Gospels, count the cost before you go to what? War. That's right. If you're about to go to war with 20,000, and you have 10,000, you better count the what? You better count the cost. Okay, Ephesians, the 4th chapter, the 14th verse says, let me get it in context. I don't like nitpicking scriptures out of context, okay? I was trained that never take scriptures out of context. I won't be long, but I will be what? Torah strong. Ephesians, fourth chapter. Okay. All right. And it reads, I'm going to start from the 8th verse. No, the 7th verse. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Hamashiach. Wherefore, he said, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto me. Drop down to the 10th verse. He that descended, is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. 11th verse, and it reads, and he gave some what? Apostles. And some what? Prophets. And some what? Evangelists. And some what? Pastors and teachers. 12th verse, for the perfecting of the saints. The word perfecting means for the maturing of the saints. For the work of the ministry. For the what? For the work of the ministry. The only work is not going to clock in on the job. But ministry requires some labor. For the edifying of the body of Hamashiach. 13th verse. Till we all come into the what? Unity of the faith. And of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim. Unto a mature man. The word, it says in the KJV, unto a perfect man. But that word perfect means unto a mature person. Okay? Unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach. 14th verse, here is the key verse. That we henceforth be no more what?
Children.
Tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to what? Deceive. So, apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers, they are for what? For the maturing of the what?
Saints.
The saints. The body of Hamashiach. They are not for entertaining folks. They are not for you to worship. We worship Yah only, right? They are simply people who are called to serve you. You understand? And they are to mature the body of Hamashiach in such a way where you will not be deceived by the craftiness and the subtleties of mankind. That's our job. That's our job, Elder Chris. That's our job, Elder Darrell and Elder Scale. That's our job. Our job is to what? To teach Israelites and to mature them so that Israelites won't be deceived by the craftiness of mankind. As Adam was supposed to teach his wife, and she knew, and she did have knowledge. That means Adam did tell her, you understand, not to partake from that tree, because she responded back to the serpent. The problem with Eve is the problem with our people today. They entertain sin. They may not participate in it, but they entertain it. You know, some people may not actually be practicing sin, but they are amused by it, which is why I don't watch Tyler Perry shows no more.
Somebody didn't get that.
That's strictly anti-what? Torah. Well, it's my job. Anti-Torah.
Yes, sir.
The Torah never said that make money dressing up like a woman. And I know it goes far back, deep in the game. In Living Colors, I thought all the way back. Nene and Martin Lawrence, I thought all the way back. They was really being subtle and crafty.
But before that,
And making this stuff popular in the black community back then. I mean, you know, I'm a classical type of guy. I watch them old television shows too, and I still watch MASH. Who remember MASH? You know, I watch MASH and You know, I watch them old shows, what's happening, and, you know, but I was looking at MASH, and I'm like, whoa. Man, they started way back then. You know, the guy that be dressed like a woman? Yes.
What about Phil Wilson?
He was before him.
So, and they just threw that in there. But that also let me know that there's been homosexuality in the military as well. You understand? But we see the craftiness, the subtleties. You understand? Now I don't mean to offend the LBQG community. I'm simply saying because I'm simply saying that you need to repent of that lifestyle, because I know some of you have been molested when you was little, but you can repent of that lifestyle and you can embrace Torah, gospel of Mashiach, and you can be made a new creation in Yahushua. Okay? So, I'm not teaching hate. You understand? But the soul that sins and that don't repent, the scripture says you shall perish. Now, why am I bringing this all up? Because what are we dealing with in this day and age? Chief Elder said it. COVID. Deception. Distraction. Oh, hallelujah. We on point now. Craftiness. Subtleties. They're all around us. And they're using the COVID-19. Listen, the wickedly wise is using the COVID-19 to implement a new world order. A new change of events. You understand? What you say, Elder?
Great reset.
Reset, that's right. The wickedly wise is not acting ignorant. They're acting with a premeditated plan. As the sister said, they're acting with a calculated plan. I remember earlier this year, I had it, the elder printed it out for me, about actually this thing was mentioned in Congress, was it last year? COVID-19?
Well, they had the stimulus package already passed in January of 2019 before COVID even came out in 2020, a whole year.
And it was mentioned. It was already mentioned, and he had printed that out. I think it came from the Congressional Library website. You understand? It was already previously mentioned in some form of fashion. You understand? So that means that this thing was what? Premeditated and calculated. Let me tell you something. When some folks transgress, when some folks sin, it's a premeditated, calculated transgression. Pharaoh wanted to do a premeditated, calculated genocide on the male Hebrew babies. King Herod, during the time that Yahushua was born, he told his soldiers, he said, look, I want to do a premeditated, calculated plan to murder all the 2-year-olds in the city that Yahushua was born in. What city was Yahushua born in? Bethlehem. Bethlehem? Was it Bethlehem or what? You know, so I'm bringing this up to say that these people who are coming out with this COVID-19 situation and implementing things of that nature, you understand, this stuff was all, and I may get in trouble with by saying this, but
I say it.
You know, some of this stuff was premeditated and calculated. You understand? This is my personal belief, okay? From my studies and from my own research. I'm not fooled or bamboozled or hoodwinked by the mass media. You understand? Now listen, if you're not a mature Israelite or mature saint or if you're not a mature Torah gospel disciple, then you're going to be like a child, tossed to and forth by everything that you're hearing on that one-eyed devil called the television, or that you're seeing on the internet. You hear what I'm saying? You're going to be tossed to and forth. One minute you believe this, next minute you believe that. And you just being tossed to and forth. You're being worried, stressed, because every morning what they're reporting. U.S. hits landmark with a high number of COVID-19 cases up. Next day up. U.S. hit a new landmark, high rate of death. First time, you understand, that it has reached this landmark. You know, so you're being bombarded, you understand, by these subtleties that they are forecasting over the airwaves. What is this? This is what Ephesians say. This is like spiritual wickedness in high places. Y'all understand me? So it is the assignment of the elders. It is the assignment of the pastors and the teachers and so forth to equip people. You understand? So that we will not be deceived. And YAH'S said, there shall be many folks rising up who shall pretend to be Hamashiach. You understand? And they're going to use subtleties and craftiness to deceive how many? A few? But to deceive what?
Many.
Many. Now I used to want to be a big time preacher like T.D. Jakes, Clefo Dollars. I shouldn't have mentioned that name. I have nothing personal against you brothers, you understand? But I used to want to have a mega church, and I still want to have one, you understand? But listen, if it's at the expense of not teaching sound doctrine, then I'd rather deal with, I'd rather deal with 30, 25, you understand? I'd rather deal with 20, 15, you understand? Then deceive people. You understand? With your many, you are deceiving many. With my few, I am giving people the truth. So, we need to be aware, and we need to be watchful and prayerful. We need to be watchful and we need to be prayerful. And I'm not making decisions for anybody. My assignment as the facilitator, the administrator, the pastor is to give you information, is to inform you scripturally of the signs of the times that we are living in, so that you can know how to deal with the wickedly wise. Okay? Now, let's go to the Apocrypha, because we are here to not just to celebrate and fellowship with the weekly Shabbat, but also to celebrate the Feast of Dedication as well. Background summary to the text from the first chapter to the fourth chapter. Okay? Now, one thing I want to say is that the Feast of Dedication is not a part of the Torah. Okay? That's what I want to bring out. So I'm not saying that if you don't keep it, that you are in sin. And the reason why I don't say that you, and neither am I saying by us keeping it, are we in transgression, because we're not. You understand? But for those Israelites who chose not to show up this morning because it's not a commanded feast, or it's not a commanded appointment, you understand? You're not in sin. But you are in sin if you're not keeping the weekly Shabbat. You understand? And we're not in sin for keeping the Feast of Dedication. You understand? All right. Now the first chapter speaks about Alexander. Who was Alexander? Alexander the Great. He conquered a mass empire that stretched from Greece to India. He conquered a mass empire. And the second verse says, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. So Alexander was a great conqueror. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. Fifth verse, after these things he fell what? Sick, and perceived that he should die. Sixth verse, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So he called his faithful generals. Seventh verse. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then what? Died. Eighth verse. And his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. So just to give you a context of this first chapter of Maccabees, and for those who are viewing us remotely, to our remote Lost Found Israelites family, to our remote Lost Found Israelites family in Las Vegas, to our remote Israelite family who are viewing us by way of social media in Louisiana. We are reading from the Apocrypha. And for those who are viewing us from the Sunday theology, we are reading from the Apocrypha, which was originally taken out of the King James Bible. So we are not adding to the scriptures. We didn't come up with a book. You understand? This is a legitimate book from the Bible. Okay, so Alexander, before he died, he gathered together his faithful generals, and he decided to partition his empire. You understand? He gave each general a part of his empire to rule. And then he died. Now these generals, they became kings. And the 9th verse says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. So these people, these generals that Alexander had made king in different parts of his kingdom, their descendants continued to rule their part that was petitioned to them by Alexander for many years and centuries to come. The 10th verse. Elder, can you read the 10th verse for me?
There came out of him a wicked wood, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus, the king, who had been in hostage in Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Okay. Now, let us remember this king. And he is described as a wicked ruler. And he is the reign over the kingdom of the Greeks. So let us remember him. The 11th verse. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a what? Covenant or an agreement with the what?
Heathen.
With the heathen. That are round about us, but since we depart from them, we have had much what? Sorrow. So it says, in those days went out there out of Israel wicked men. All Israelites are not righteous.
No, sir. Read on.
That's why over there. All Israelites are not righteous. Some of our civil rights leaders were not righteous.
Sellouts, clones.
But you say the elder, they were
Sellouts.
They were sellouts.
They call them goons.
They were, some of them were sellouts, and they went and they made a covenant with this government that continues to oppress us today. It's very relevant today. So, because remember, like in the 1890s, there was two thoughts. There was two schools of thoughts in, since we was emancipated from chattel slavery. There have always been two schools of thought, not just among black people, but also among white people. The two schools of thought is, one was like Frederick Douglass. He was like, and Frederick Douglass, he was actually not a black man, quote unquote, he was not an Israelite. Frederick Douglass' father was a slave master. You understand? But Frederick Douglass wanted us to stay here in America. But the other school of thought, Henry Garnett, another black leader at that time, his school of thought was that we should separate from our oppressors. You understand what I'm saying? So there was always two competing schools of thought, even unto this time, among the leaders of the black community in America. One wanted us to make a covenant with this country, become equal with our oppressors. When the Bible tells us to what? Envy not. What? Envy not your oppressor. You understand? So why would you want to be equal with your oppressors? You understand? The other school of thought was like, we need to separate from these people. You understand? The Most High didn't tell Moshe to go and tell Pharaoh to give us civil rights or equal rights in the land of our captivity. In other words, you don't want to make the land of your captivity your home. Whoever been locked up before? I've been locked up before when I was 20. You understand? I'm 45 now, but the attitude I had was, what's his name? The guy that played Rock, the actor, the bald head guy.
Charles Durden.
Yes, you know, he was locked up before, and he said they asked him about his prison experience, and he was like, my prison experience was like this. He said, when I got there, I saw guys that had, you know, they made their cell like a home. He said, I didn't do none of that. He said, because I was determined to get out of there. In other words, a lot of our people have that Stockholm syndrome, where they become in love with their oppressors and also in love with the place of their captivity.
That's why some of them want to go back.
This is why some of them want to stay here in America. This is why some of them don't want to be separated, you understand, from the culture of and from the spirit of this modern day place of bondage and from this modern day Babylon. You understand? Because a lot of our people, they make themselves at home in their oppression. You understand? In other words, this is as good as it gets. So I'm gonna just make myself at home in this oppression, and I'm gonna have a good time. That show, JJ and Good Times. Good Times. Y'all know about the show Good Times, a classic. I still watch it today because it has a subliminal message in it, brother. It has a twofold message in it. One is teaching you, and this is the part I don't like, is that how to have a good time in poverty and your oppression.
And then they take the net away.
Yeah. The other part I do like is that they was always trying to get out of there. You understand? They was always trying to get out of there. You understand? They never stopped trying to what? Get out of there. James worked hard so that his children can, especially the young boy, Michael, the one who told his mama that Jesus was black. And she said, and she got offended by it, you understand? You know, but they wanted him to go to college. They wanted him to have a better life. Of course, every parent wants their children to have a better life. If you don't want your children to have a better life than you are not a good parent. You understand? So, there was some Israelites that was wicked. They went and persuaded many. These wicked Israelites went in and persuaded other Israelites to establish a covenant of death with the Gentiles. I told you, YAH'S said there, you know, watch out for people who are sent to deceive. 12th verse. So this device pleased them well. 13th verse. Then certain of the people were so forward, period, that they went to the king and gave them license to do after the ordinance of the what? Heathen. Now Jeremiah the 10th chapter, around the first, second verse, it says what? To do not practice the customs of the what? The heathen. So they went to the king who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathens. So these Hebrew elders there, they wanted to put away their Torah culture, and they wanted to literally, like the sister said, they premeditated and calculated going to the heathen king. They premeditated it and they calculated it, you understand,
Suicide.
to go to the to the heathen king and to align themselves to the ordinance of the Greeks. And this is how a lot of our people, Brother Chris, became Hellenistic. This is how a lot of our people became Hellenistic. You know, Israelite in flesh and blood, but Greek in their mind and in their lifestyle. You understand? Like we running around here calling ourselves Americans when we're actually Israelites. 14th verse. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathen. And they built this place of exercise in the holy city of Jerusalem. 15th verse. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. In other words, they exchanged their culture for the culture of the other nations. And actually, it was not supposed to be that way. The other nations was to exchange their culture for our culture. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to influence them and not them influencing us.
And now our women run around looking like a coloring book by the face. And men run around just like men. I don't understand.
And they give them cultural appropriation because they take our, what's ours. And we want it.
Yes. 16th verse, Elder, can you read that?
Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms.
So, Antiochus, you know, this Grecian king, you know, he wanted to rule over multiple lands. And this is the king that our forefathers was going to have problems with, that the Maccabees was going to have problems with. Let's go on over to Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. We're going to get to the point where do this piece of dedication come to play? So this Grecian king is the king that was getting ready to implement, with the consent of consenting Israelites. Israelites who voluntarily consented to voluntarily, Dominique, follow after the ways of the heathen, which Jeremiah the 10th chapter, you understand, speaks expressively against. My computer is running slow. Elder, can you keep that on for me? Oh, it can't. All right, first verse, 2nd chapter of Maccabees. It is also found in the records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it had been signified. the second verse, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Most High, that they should not err in their what? Minds, when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. And with other such speeches exhorted he them that the law should not depart from their what? Hearts. Fourth verse. It also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of Elohim, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth to the mountain, where Moshe climbed up and saw the heritage of Elohim. All right, let me drop on down. 17 verse. We hope also that Elohim, that delivered all his people and gave them all an inheritance, and the kingdom and the priesthood and the sanctuary. And he promised in the law or in the Torah, will shortly have mercy upon us and gather us together out of every land under heaven into the holy place. For he had delivered us out of great troubles and had purified the place. Now, 19 verse, as concerning Judas Maccabeus and his brethren, and the purification of the great temple, and the dedication of the altar. And the 20th verse said there was wars against Antitos. The 21st verse, and the manifest signs that came from heaven unto those that behaved themselves manfully to their honor for Judaism, so that being but a few, they overcame the whole country and chased the multitudes. The 22nd verse, and recovered again the temple, renowned over the world over, and freed the city and upheld the laws which were going down. The Most High being gracious unto them all with all faith. So let's go from here to the 4th chapter of Maccabees. 4th chapter. Now, in the 2nd and the 3rd chapter of Maccabees, this Grecian king, he wanted all the people of his land to put away their customs and their traditions and to become uno, one people.
Sound like the Pope.
This Grecian king wanted everybody in this kingdom, like sometimes when conquerors would conquer the empire, they will allow you to keep some of the leaders or conquerors would allow you to keep your customs and your traditions as long as you paid your what? Taxes. In some cases, they didn't care who you worship, as long as you paid your what? Taxes. You understand? Remember, later on, the Romans was like, when our forefathers was insisting that they crucify YAH'S, what did Pilate tell the Israelites? Here, you crucify him according to your law. Because the Romans allowed our forefathers what we call today religious freedom. Even to put another Israelite to death. That's why Pilate said, here, you take him, you crucify him. According to your law, according to your traditions. The Romans at that particular time allowed the Israelites religious freedoms, even to stone one of their own people according to their law. The only thing the Romans was concerned about at that particular time was for you to pay your what? Taxes. And not to rebel against Caesar. Y'all see that? That's why YAH'S said, render unto what? Caesar. The things that belong to Caesar. Because the Romans, they wouldn't, they would, at that particular time, they like, you can worship whoever you want to worship, as long as you pay your money. That's how the world has become today. You understand? That's how America is. America is nothing but a carbon copy of ancient Greece, Rome, Babylon, all together. Because the United States, they have what in the Constitution? Freedom of what? Religion. Freedom of speech, but freedom of religion. They don't care about what you worship. They care about your what? That's why Paul said, the love of money is the root of what? That's why they said, you can come over here, be a Muslim, Christian, Baptist, you understand, or whatever you want to be, as long as you paying your money. The so-called white man, it's only two things I know he really cares about. That's his money and his guns.
But his money is his God.
He cares about his money and his guns. You understand? When we rise up in urban neighborhoods and complain about police brutality, you understand? The first thing that they are concerned about is that, look at this, they destroying the businesses. They causing all this damage, this property damage. They concerned about the businesses. The police officers are out there not concerned about the lives of the protesters, but they are concerned about what? The businesses. We're here to protect the businesses. The businesses. Okay. So this Grecian king, he wanted everybody to embrace a new world order by him telling everybody put away your custom, your tradition, put it all away. Put it all away. And let us become one people, one uniformity. The United Nations want everybody to become one people. Y'all know what the United Nations is, right? The World Health Organization, which Trump briefly took us out of, want everybody to become one people. And listen, I do agree we should become one people, but we should become one people according to the Torah gospel. Not according to the ways of the what? Heathens. Right? So, this king, he wanted everybody to put away all their traditions and things like that, you understand? And to embrace one code of conduct. And the city of Jerusalem was supposed to be a holy city. But this king, he implemented a lot of customs and traditions of the heathens that went against the Torah, that defiled the temple. And it angered a lot of Hebrews, Israelites at that particular time, and this priestly family called the Maccabees, you understand, they rose up in revolt because they had a zeal for the Torah. A lot of our people don't have a zeal for the truth. And if you don't have a zeal for the truth, you're just going to go along with the program. Now, let me get this particular verse I want to pull up. Wait, let's see. I originally had it typed out in my book. Okay, let's see. Elder, can you find that scripture where it says that you commanded all the people? I think it's in the second or third chapter. All the people should. Oh, I see it. I think I see it. That all the people should. What a king wrote, to his whole kingdom. I see it. That all the people should abandon their customs. I just want to get that verse up. Okay. I think it's 1 Maccabees 41. Am I correct? 1 Maccabees 41. 1 Maccabees 41. Yes, I think I'm correct. Yes, I'm correct. Yes, that's 1 Maccabees, first chapter, the 41st verse. Moreover, the king wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, right? You can't be one people with everybody having different diversities of customs and traditions. You understand? You know, like, it's so popular for people today to say, well, I have my own mind. That's a popular statement that people make. I have my own mind. I'm doing my own thing. And we think in America, brother, because we have freedom of what? Speech, that we are free.
Hello?
You really don't have freedom of speech. They'll lock you up and kill you out on something you speak and say.
We think in America we have freedom of speech because we can what? Because we can talk. Oh, I'm free. Why are you free? Because I can say what I want to say. Because you can say what you want to say doesn't make you free. It just exposes who you are to the end. You ever look on social media apps and you see, what do you see on there, brother? You see what's on your mind or what are you thinking? Y'all see that on your social media apps? What's on your mind and what are you thinking? And whatever's on your mind and whatever you're thinking, don't you know that they're recording that? That's data? That some state attorney generals is now accusing Facebook of taking people's, brother, personal information and using it to their advantage? Y'all didn't hear about that in the news?
They were sued, a lawsuit.
That's right. Oh, I'm free. Oh, they collected all your information. And Facebook is now being, now they may take this off now, but they have been accused, let me put it in their terms. They have been accused and of using, taking people's personal data and using it to their advantage to further the interests of their company. They are being accused and they are being legally challenged. You understand? According to the law of this captivity, this land, okay? So this king, this Grecian king said, let us all be one people, so everybody's going to have to put away your customs and your traditions. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do you in. 42nd verse, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. 43rd verse, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his what? Religion. And sacrificed unto what, Dominique? Idols. That's First Maccabees, first chapter, 43rd verse. The 44th verse says, for the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Y'all see that? And the 45th verse says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the what? Temple. That they should profane the Sabbaths and the appointed days. Y'all see that? And listen, the 46th verse, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. Drop down to the 48th verse. That they should also leave their children what?
Uh-oh.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Now you know that circumcision is a sign of the covenant, right? That the Most High made with our forefathers, Abraham and Isaac. Now listen. What was this king doing? He was implementing a new world order, a new program. Now, if you don't care, you're just going to go along with the program. You're just going to go along with the what? The flow of things. Because you don't care. You're just here to make a dollar. You hear me, Dominique? I'm just another day, another dollar. You understand? You don't care. A lot of our people don't care. They don't care about truth. They don't care about knowing that they're Israelite. They don't care about knowing what they're supposed to do. They just want to make it another day. And to save their lives, they're going to go along with the program. Just like with the advent of this vaccine, a lot of our people going to just go along with the program. If they say you got to have this to go to work, you're going to go along with the program. If they say you got to have this vaccine to get your stimulus check, to get your income tax, to get your health benefit, to get your pension, you just going to just go along with the program. The 50th verse, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should what?
Die. This is why a lot of our people think they free. Because they can get on social media, they can say what they want to say, speak their mind, and they think they free because ain't nobody going to pop you in the mouth. So they think they are free. But no, you're not free. Just because you can say what you want to say, it doesn't mean that you are not being in a premeditated, calculated way by the what? Wickedly wise. Because the wickedly wise is dealing with our people in a way that makes them think that they are free when they're actually not free. That's a great deception right there.
To be living in a country that tells you that you are what? Free all the time. And actually, we are the most duped people in all the face of the earth. I'm sure the elder will agree on this, and I'm not trying to be long, but I'm sure the elder will agree on this. They'll tell you and I, you're free because you can what?
Take action.
That's right. They'll tell you that you and I are free because we can what?
Vote.
Not knowing that the vote does not
Nah.
elect the president. The electoral college elect the president. You understand? See, the United States government deals with people
By their money.
in subtle ways and with craftiness. They say, no, we're not going to make it mandatory. No, we don't do that here. We are a democracy. But then they'll tell you, well, but if you want to go to work, you got to have a vaccine. But it's not mandatory. Well, if you want to go to work, you want the stimulus, your income, your pension, your health care benefits, you got to show that you've been tested. You got to show, you want to travel. You got to get on. You want to go to this country. You want a passport. You got to show that you're COVID-19 free, and you got to show that you have had your vaccine. But no, it's not mandatory though. But see, it is mandatory because they are being crafty and subtle in implementing it. Kind of like reminds you of what the scripture says, the mark of the beast. If you don't have it, you can't what? You can't buy or sell.
Have you seen those Christians that want to fight you when you tell them your vote didn't count, you wasted your time?
So we see,
It's funny,
but this king said, everybody's going to get with my program. This king, he was direct. He said, everybody's going to get with my program, or you going to what? You're going to die. Well, Apostle, we ain't under no king no more. We in a free, we's a free. We's a free. We got democracy. We vote here. That's the greatest deception. Before presidents are elected, they have already been selected. And they just done hoodwink you and bamboozled you to believe that you're free. So we're coming up on a time, Brother Chris. We're coming up on a time, you understand? It's just like I tell people, if you can't go a whole day without spending a penny, you ain't gonna make it when it comes to the market. I don't usually spend on Shabbat, Sabbath. You know why? Because, here's why. Sabbath is all about preparing us for that great day. It's about preparing us for the mark of the beast. This is why in my household, you understand, I train up these sons of mine, you understand, to go without some things for a little bit. You don't give a child everything that they want to. And train yourself how to go without some things. I train myself how to go without some things because I'm preparing myself how to live off the grid. So this king wanted everybody to be uno, one people. And there were Israelites who wholeheartedly consented to this. Now there was a priestly family called the Maccabees who did not want to follow the ways of the heathens. So while there was a certain large number of Israelites who wanted to willingly and voluntarily take on the ways of the heathens, you understand, there was a certain group of Israelites that said, no, we want to retain the culture of our righteousness. And this family was called the Maccabees, and there were many that joined the Maccabees, you understand? And these Maccabean family, and those who joined themselves unto them, they was persecuted for wanting to retain the Torah culture of righteousness. They was persecuted. Some were put to death to the point where they fled. You understand? So there was a war that happened. The Grecians, they came in and they implemented all these different customs and cultures of the heathen, and they turned Jerusalem into Sodom and Gomorrah-like city. They defiled the temple and things of that nature. So let's go to the 4th chapter of Maccabees, and I'm going to get ready to conclude. So the Maccabees, they took up guerrilla warfare against the Grecians. They took up guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is like when you're not like a uniformed army where you take up actions against an army that's usually twice the size of your group of fighters. You understand? When you go up against an army that's well equipped, well trained, and since the Maccabees were trained to be a priestly family, they was of a priestly order. They was not trained to be men of what? War. But they became men of war for the sake of retaining the Torah culture of righteousness. So they fought against the Grecians and they won many wars, and they recaptured the temple. And this is what we're going to pick up at the 4th chapter of Maccabees. The 36th verse. 4th chapter of Maccabees, 36th verse, and we're going to conclude here. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomforted. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up unto Mount Zion. 38th verse, and when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest chambers pulled down. The 39th verse said, they rent their what? Clothes, and made great lamentations, and cast ashes upon their heads. Because they was disgusted by how the heathens had come in and defiled the temple or the place of worship. The 40th verse. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried towards heaven. 41st verse. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the foul stones unto an unclean place. The 42nd verse says, such as had pleasure in the law. Do you have pleasure in the law? Do you have pleasure in studying and applying the Torah? 44th verse. And when they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, 45th, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them. Because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down. And laid up stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. 47th verse, then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They also made new holy vessels into the temple. They brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burnt incense and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now the 52nd verse, we'll drop down to the 55th verse. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising Elohim of heaven, who had given them good success. The 56th verse. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. 57th verse. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged those upon them. Thus were they very great, thus was there very great gladness among the people, but that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of what? 8 days. This is how we get the feast of dedication. You understand? It is not a appointed time according to Leviticus 23rd chapter. So it's not a sin if Israelites don't keep it, but it's not a sin if we do keep it. You understand? Because there's a spiritual meaning to this passage, to these verses, about them rededicating the edifice. You understand? The spiritual meaning is that we need to, as Israelites who lost knowledge of self, we need to cleanse our temple, for we are the temple. You and I are the temple. We need to cleanse ourselves from what? What do we need to cleanse ourselves from? Being that we have lost knowledge of self as a people, we need to cleanse ourselves from, they cleansed the temple from paganism, right, Dominique? They cleansed the temple from paganism. So what is it that you or our people are practicing here in America that's not Torah gospel that we need to cleanse ourselves from and rededicate ourselves as a temple of the Most High, to the Most High? Well, our people are getting ready to celebrate what? Christmas, which is pagan. And next year, some will be celebrating, well, at the turn of the year, they will be celebrating New Year what? Resolution, right? But with us, a new year don't begin until what? Passover. You understand? Somewhere during the springtime. So our people need to cleanse themselves from Christmas, Halloween, and Easter, and New Year's resolutions. Why? Because these things are not Torah culture of righteousness. These are the ways of the world. You understand? So, those are pagan ways, just a few, there are many more, you understand? So here they're talking about the edifice, but spiritually, I'm talking about you and I. We are the temple of the Most High. What paganism that we have in our life that we are practicing, that we need to examine ourselves and cleanse ourselves from, you understand? And rededicate ourselves as a temple of the Most High, to the Most High, just like they did, you understand? So, I'm going to read one more verse. What's the verse in the Gospel of John where Mashiach was in Jerusalem on the Feast of Dedication? We're going to get that verse and we're going to conclude with that. Okay. So when they recovered the temple, they cleansed the temple and they rededicated the temple, and they ordained, the 59th verse, 4th chapter of First Maccabees, so they ordained that the Feast of Dedication should be kept for how many days? 8 days. Ain't no party like an Israelite party. Ain't no party like an Israelite party. Because when the world party, they party, you know what I'm saying, from night to dawn. But Israelites, you know what I'm saying, we party from 7 days to 8 days. You understand, you know? So that's why I often say, I tell worldly folks, no, you don't know how to party until you learn how to keep an appointed time of the Most High. You understand? Because when we party, you know, we usually party from some days. You understand? So we should really be partying, having a party and feasting and eating good food. You understand? And having a good time in the Most High. You understand? Not just on a Friday night or Saturday night, but for 8 days, baby. You know what I'm saying? You know, ain't no party like an Israelite party. Have my scholars found that verse? Where my scholars at? Okay. Elva, can you read it? 10:22. Okay, yes. I'll read it. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. The Gospel of John 10:22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the what? Dedication, and it was winter. The 23rd verse. And Yahweh shall walk in the temple in Solomon's porch. So, what is that saying? What is that saying right there? He's observing. He was observing why else would he be there? So if Hamashiach kept him, see, I want to be a follower of Hamashiach. You understand? Not of mankind's private interpretations. You understand? Hamashiach was observing this. That's why he was at the temple. So therefore, we decided to observe it. You understand? But the spiritual meaning is that we need to rededicate ourselves to the Most High, cleanse ourselves from paganism, whatever it may be. Give up out of your hand, clap, pray.